Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrew here, back for our build review show. It is Friday, March 21st of 2025. And on this show, I bring users builds up live on stream, giving them personalized feedback and advice about things I think that they can do differently in their builds to help improve their results and help improve their post-contest sim ROIs as well. We do this show once a week on Fridays, every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. If you ever want to get signed up for a show, there are two ways to do that. One, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post in the office hours channel in our Discord. Let me know what date, what sport, what site and slate you want reviewed, and I will add you to the list for the next show. But with that said, we are going to be looking at some NASCAR today, so it should be a fun one. Let's get SaberSim pulled up now. So first person up is going to be Jim, and then after that, we're going to be looking just like kind of talking about how to use flashback to understand a sport better and how to start building a process. So I got asked about kind of general NASCAR flashback strategy. This would be like the most general way I can think about using it. So let's knock through Jim's review here, and then we will do that general one afterwards. But I have the March 16th, which was the last cup race, pulled up here. We are going to start in the contest tab as always. Contest selection looks good here. No problems at all there. Very strong selection. We will look at the Minimax here since they had the most entries in that contest. So why don't we pull that up? Pop over to users or pop over to lineups, pop over to users. Jim, 25 lineups here. Let's go greater than or equal to 25. Sort by sim ROI. All right. So highest sim ROIs in this contest, somewhere above like 30%, I'd say is like a pretty good number here. The sim ROI for Jim here is -7%, which is okay. We're going to figure out why we're seeing that. We're going to see what we can do to adjust it. So again, there's always going to be a range of ways you can build positive sim ROI lineups in sports where duplication is heavy. So for instance, you could go one route, right? I see one user here, 232 sim average score, 23 average dupes, right? Very, very high average dupes, but coupled with a very high sim average score, which ends up to them I think winning a lot in the contest sim. Okay. So that's one way to do it, right? Another way to do it would be literally the complete opposite, which would be this universal friend, one average dupe, 205 sim average score. So here, right, there is a 27-point sim average score difference, but there is a 22 average dupe difference, right? So one player is saying, I want to go super unique and I'm willing to sacrifice projection to do so. The other person is saying, hey, I want to play higher projected lineups. I'm okay accepting some additional duplication in order to get to that point, right? So we do see a balance here. Now, what's interesting to me about Jim's lineups is that he has 4 average dupes, 211 sim average score, right? If we go and we look and we find somebody kind of similar, there's 2 people here similar that are kind of in the same window, right? So one person, 4 average dupes, 212.65 sim average score. So same dupes, 1 point projection difference. And then there's another person, 3 average dupes, who also has a 211 sim average score. You know, both of these users are extremely close to him, right? So for me, it's like, okay, well, why is he -7% and these users are +43 and +39, right? I can't really tell from what I'm seeing here. So what we need to do, right, is we need to go a little bit further. We need to dig a little bit deeper here into why this is. Now, one of the best ways to do that, in my opinion, is to compare your exposures and the decisions you made to these other users. Okay. So the way I would do this, filter for Jim, go to projections, and then sort by his exposure here. Right. So I would probably just do ownership, sort by owner. So I'm actually gonna add leverage here, right? I've right clicked edit columns, and then I'm adding leverage. So I want to see, hey, what are the biggest stands he took compared to other users, And then the opposite as well, right? What players was he under on compared to other users, right? These two users in question, right? Similar metrics, different sim ROIs. So what I would do, right, is I'd probably do ownership top down, leverage top down, and leverage ascending. And you could just write these down, right? You could write them down. You could take a screenshot of it. So like, what that would look like is like, okay, I'm just going to come in here and then I'm going to like grab this and then I do like a screen grab. And then it's like, okay, based on like ownership, these were my highest exposures, right? And then what I would do is I would move that away and then I would switch to the other users. This is probably going to take some time, right? But that's okay. That's what we're trying to do here is build a winning process. So then we go filter for the other user, Wayno here, and then we go to projections. Again, we go actual ownership. And then, what I could do, right, is I could just like bring this screenshot back and then start comparing. It's like, okay, on the highest ownership plays, seems like they were either under or even, right? And we kind of had like a lot of like Ross Chastain, who actually ended up doing like pretty good compared to his projection to his actual. But then, I was like, okay, I'm not seeing like a ton here, but it seems like they're either under or matching. But then where are they over, right? And then I would do the same exact thing here, right? And I guess what I would probably do is just like take all the screenshots for Jim first, right? So then it's like, okay, go back to Jim. It's like, okay, let's look at leverage. And then let's look at inverse leverage. I wonder if that's going to mess me up. Yeah, it's only showing me one. That sucks. Okay, I know where to find these though. Hold on. So they should all be in my screenshots. They should all be in like your screenshot folder as well. Just so you guys know. All right, let's do this. Oops, wrong one. Oh no. Hold on, I clicked the wrong button. I think I just actually opened all my screenshots instead of trying to do what I wanted to do. So that just bogged me down real quick. All right, this should get us pretty close to what we're trying to do here. I'm trying to pull up these things so I can properly show you guys. Come on. Go away. All right, cool. We're good now. All right, so let's shrink this down slightly. Yeah, that's good. All right, so first one was Jim's positive leverages, right? And I just open up the positives. Oh, I'm on Jim. Okay, I got to switch back to Wayno here. All right, so we'll go to Wayno. So highest leverage. So they're a little bit flatter. Okay, so one double-digit leverage here at 15%. Nobody else in double digits, right? So a little bit flatter, where Jim's a little bit taking a little bigger stance here, which is okay. What's interesting is there's not a ton of overlap here, right? So I'm mostly looking at like, seems like Jim has like a lot of middle of the pack drivers, like 19, 15, 16. And then this user has like a little bit different approach. Like, okay, they're getting to 2 and 4, and then they're getting to like 20, 29, 25. These are like their biggest leverages, right? So seems like it's a little bit of pole leader, right? Because you get points for like laps led, and then some like lower starting position drivers in order to try and gain some placement points, right? That's kind of what I'm seeing, right? And again, we have to try and interpret what we're seeing without knowing what exactly they were trying to do. So it can be a little challenging, right? So here, this is what I'm gathering so far, right? With leverages. So a little bit closer to ownership, a little bit flatter, and then a little bit different with their approach, where Jim's like a little bit more picking like middle of the pack drivers, and then they're picking a little bit like higher or lower starting position so far, right? Okay, then let's go to negative leverage. And then let's see. That was actual. Okay, so then the screenshot is Jim's, and then this is theirs. So we were both under on Blaney, so that's good. We were under. So see, it almost seems like these are a little bit more of the drivers that they had targeted with like these like mid to late 20 like starting positions, and we were like under on these players, right? We had like the negative leverage, and they kind of had the positive leverage like in this kind of frame here. Where they faded is they kind of faded. They basically like, it seems like they took their shot. So like, you know, think about like, I don't know, top 10 drivers. They took like a shot on like two of them, like, hey, hopefully like these guys lead, or hopefully one of these guys wins. And then they kind of faded the others, right? So not too much ownership to more than just a handful of the top 10 drivers, right? They were a little bit under on all these other guys because they were high on the 2 and the 4, and then low on like the 3, the 7, the 8. So this kind of tracks a little bit to me. And then actual ownership. Let me go back here. And I'm just comparing these. So outside of Chastain, it doesn't look that different. But okay, so my thoughts here, right? From studying a higher sim ROI player, little bit flatter leverages can be good, not so big of stands. Being very decisive about what drivers from the top 10 starting positions you're taking stands on can be good. And then trying not to pick too many of like the middle of the pack, maybe like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like kind of in that like teen range. And then trying to maybe not go all the way down to like, you don't need to fully stack the back, but if you can find like some good drivers, like in like the late 20s or something like that, 20s to 30s, maybe drivers in like the 20 to 30s are like a little bit better than drivers in the 10 to 20s. Okay. I'm speculating on all this. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but these are the differences I'm seeing between these two users, which is the user who we're reviewing, who has negative 7% sim ROI, and then the user that has positive 43% sim ROI with extremely similar metrics. Okay. 4 average dupes, and then 1 point in sim average score difference. It isn't the user metrics that are the issue. It's the driver decisions, kind of, almost, right? So we're trying to see what driver decisions they're making compared to what we're making. And then we're trying to figure out what the differences are and how we can make sense of the decisions they made. Does it make sense? Can we figure this out? And, this kind of goes like into like general NASCAR strategy, right? Like we were going to talk about that separately, but we're almost talking about it here because we kind of need to figure out what we need to do different, since our metrics on a like macro level look fine. What are we not understanding about NASCAR strategy that is leading to this negative sim ROI? You could do this in any contest. You don't even have to play the contest. Okay. You can go and you can study, the $15 150 max like if you wanted to do general NASCAR strategy, right? I would go and I would do that exact thing that we just did in the 150 max. And I would look at people who are maxing it, because generally those users are going to have, bigger bankrolls, be long-term winners, more of the people you want to study, right? And then I would just go and look at some of the top people and, look at different types of people, right? Seems like all of these are kind of like cut from a similar cloth, at least like from what I'm seeing so far. But you can even go further, right? Go and look at people who are doing double-digit dupes. Go and look at people who are at the top of the list and do that same thing, right? Filter for them, see what decisions they made with actual ownership, see what decisions they made with who they decided to get leverage on, and then who they decided to be under the field on. And you can, maybe come in here and learn some things from them, but don't just study one, right? Study a couple and see if there's some overlap, if there is some, consensus or things like that. So that, as far as general NASCAR strategy goes, that's what I would be doing, is studying the best players in the lobbies in, the large field contests. And then I would be going through it the same way we kind of went through gyms, right? Like, you don't have to play this contest in order to study it. But what you can do is you can be like, okay, hey, I played this other contest, what decisions did I make versus the best players? You could do that within your own contest. You could do it outside of your own contest, right? But that's kind of what you want to look at. So let's go to Jim's build here and let's see what we see. So default min max, filter, no filters, no rules, 3 lineup filters, geo mean, projection, ROI. These all look good. And then again, the lineup metrics looked really good. They looked in line with a lot of the other users. Now, now we're actually getting more and more granular, right? We're actually moving out of the macro and into the micro, right? Usually we're looking at it like lineup levels. Now we're starting to look at it at like player levels and, starting positions of drivers and things like that, right? So we're really getting into like the nitty gritty here. But a lot of the decisions made here on like the lineup level look really good. Now I think we need to, start to be a little bit more hands-on with like maybe our drivers and the story we're trying to tell with our lineups of how we're going to get to a win here. So I would try that out, consider studying some more players, consider taking some of their concepts and ideas and applying them to your exposures. Really rely on leverage. I know leverage is like kind of all the way over here on the right. I would really bring that in. And then before you, kind of final submit, like sort by leverage going down and then sort by leverage coming up. And then be sure like, okay, hey, who am I under on? Who am I over on? You can even say like, you can even sort by ownership. How am I treating the highest owned drivers in the contest? And then, see if you can apply some of the things you learned from those other users with similar metrics and apply those to your process, right? But again, a really good opportunity to use the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup race to get more than one shot at this a week. Get 3 shots at it a week and dial it in every single day. So don't just play Cup race on Sunday. But those would be my thoughts for Jim and for general NASCAR flashback strategy or process. You're trying to build a process for the first time. That's what I would be doing. And, I could be completely wrong, right? We could try that out and be like, hey, I only took, a couple drivers from the top 10. I tried to, not fully stack the back, but, pick some drivers, in beyond the 20s and it didn't work out. Okay, we got to go back, to studying and we got to figure this out, right? And then you try it again, you try it again, and slowly but surely you start to move in the right direction. So that's what I'd be trying here. I really hope that helps, and let me know how it goes after this weekend. All right, that was our only review today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you ever want to get signed up for a show, email us, support@sabersim.com, or post a message in office hours. Let me know the date, sports, site, slate you want reviewed. Now I add you to the list for the next show. Until tomorrow, we have office hours, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. I will see you all there. So till then, take care. Thanks. Bye.